Good evening and welcome to This Is The Day. My name is Sarah Otieno. We are live on Family TV, also live on Family Radio. And today a new baby has been born. And we are live in Meru Town 2, and that is on Family Radio through the frequency 107.7. So this is good news, and if you're tuning in maybe through Family TV in Meru, then you can text me and try the frequency 107.7 and text me how you get the frequency in that area. And also, if your loved ones are in that area, you can also inform them that Family Radio is live. That is in Meru County. The frequency, I repeat, is 107.7, and this has been made possible by you and your partnership, and for that reason we are always grateful to you as we keeping Jesus on the airwaves and also letting the music do the talking. Now the WhatsApp number that you can use to join this discussion today is 0786 316 316, SMS line 20316, on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316, and let us get to understand what is happening worldwide when it comes to the control of COVID-19. We will start with the global numbers, and today the coronavirus cases have hit the mark of 3,673,389. That is worldwide right now as we are speaking this very moment. And the total number of deaths are 253,401. The recovered cases are 1,211,216. That is the number of people that have recovered from the coronavirus virus and the pandemic. And right now we look at the top countries, the ones that have recorded the highest numbers in the last 24 hours. And we have Russia with over 10,102 new cases. That is in the last 24 hours. You have the USA. Yesterday, the US was at position 4, and right now it's at position 2 with 2,622 new cases. And we have Spain, 2,260, Saudi Arabia with 1,595, and we have Mexico with 1,434. Iran has 1,323, and we have Qatar with 951 in that order. Let us look at the number of deaths and the new deaths. The highest country to record deaths is the USA with 208. We have Spain with 185, Mexico 117, Russia with 95, Belgium with 92, and Netherlands with 86 new cases, followed closely by Sweden with 85 new cases. We also need to look at some good news, and the USA is topping the list with recovered cases in the last 24 hours. We're having 188,069 recovered cases in the last 24 hours compared to the number of deaths. Of course, the recovered cases are higher in that country. We also have Spain, and we have Germany, Italy, and Iran recording up to over 80,000 people that have recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. That is only in the last 24 hours. So let us look at our country, Kenya, and there is a community spread in 3 key areas in Kenya. That includes Eastleigh, Kawangware, and Old Town in Mombasa County. Now, according to the Health CS Mutahi Kagwe, we need to take serious action in those areas. And he says the number right now has risen to 535 cases after 45 more people have tested positive of the coronavirus.
And 77 samples tested, some 45 people have turned positive. This, of course, is the highest number recorded in 24 hours ever since the first case on the 12th of March. Out of this number, 29 are from Nairobi. In terms of gender, we have 30 males and 15 females. Also, on a positive note, I also want to add that today we have recorded 9 new discharges. This brings the total number of those who have recovered, turned from positive to negative, to 182. The 29 cases that we have had which are from Nairobi are all from Eastleigh. That means that as we speak, there are 63 cases within the Eastleigh area alone. That tells you then that there is community spread happening within Nairobi, specifically in the area of Eastleigh. This comes out of the result of mass testing in that area within the last 24 hours.
He also cautioned against the lack of seriousness when curbing the spread of the virus, and he added that opening of the restaurants has actually been abused, and that unless things change, we are going to have an upward trend of up to 50 people being affected per day.
The figures that we are hearing today are a clear demonstration that things are not getting better. And people who are telling others that things are better are lying to them. And somehow, somewhere along the line, we seem to have come to the conclusion as a society that things have gone back to normal. Today's figures show things are far, far from normal. Things are very challenging. I want to appeal to those who are not doing the social distancing, who are not doing the hand washing, who are not observing the basic hygiene that we have put in place, that it is as a result of such misbehavior that we are now upwards at 45.
And he cautions against the misbehavior that Kenyans are actually taking part that is causing the increase in the number of cases. Well, later on, I will be talking to you about the role of women and also the importance of the family unit when it comes to fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. 20316 is the SMS line that you can use to text me from. And if you are watching from Meru, and if you're also listening, because right now we have a frequency 107.7, text me in and tell me how you feel it, and also kama unatupata vizuri, and the WhatsApp number 0786316316. Text me and tell me how you feel about the new frequency. Now to some good news brought forth by a 9-year-old. Now there is an exercise that seeks to sensitize communities on hygiene, as well as provide functional water hand washing units, personal protective equipment among local communities, and it has been launched in Trans Nzoia County. Now this initiative is spearheaded by a 9-year-old girl and also targets to sensitize members of the local community on safety guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health. She's only 9, but she's doing wonders. Listen in.
COVID-19 came, so I was donated some bottles and soap. So I decided to give out bottle soap to everyone, to the needy.
Niliposikia hiyo ni jambo mzuri, nikaongea na marafiki zangu wenye wale wachache, tukaform group ya WhatsApp, akaweza kuchanga shilingi 58,000. Kwa hiyo shilingi 58,000 tuliweza kununua tangi ya 250 liters, tangi 6, tukanunua stands za hizo matangi kukaa, na pia tukachanga sabuni ya 150 liters. Hiyo yote tulipeleka kwa county response team, tusaidiane na tusaidie tuamushe pia, ambia watoto wengine wakuje na mawaidha kama haya, wakuje na ideas nzuri kama hii, ili wote Kenya tuendelee mbele.
Well, that is the mother of the 9-year-old, and clearly from her words, the young girl is really trying to reach the masses. Now that connects us to our next story. And during this persistent fear that is felt during this pandemic, it is likely to twist one's outlook and the possibility of any positive outcome. And this is often ignored, you know. So when this question, how will the pandemic affect women? when it's cropped up, the predictions so far have been the dire consequences, and in the home that they will be driven back to what used to happen in the 1950s. Talking of cooking, their career going down, and being the cleaner of the house. Well, this is what we are talking about. How has this pandemic affected women, and what is their role and the family unit when it comes to coping with the COVID-19? We're now joined live with one Carol Gaiduma, who is a life coach, to help us understand this.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. It's really nice to see you. I want us to talk about the importance of having a stable family unit, especially during this time. Is there anything good that comes with it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are going through a lot of uncertainty. And this is a time we need each other to hold each other in love. This is very crucial time to have a powerful and strong and loving relationships, and a strong family gives us that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, because we are spending most of our times with our families. There's nowhere else we are going, so that needs to be a bit the stability that we can anchor on.
All right. And before we go far, maybe someone would not be understanding the meaning of a good and stable family unit. So in your words, kindly help us understand, what is a stable family unit?
A stable family unit is a family that is embracing each other in love without judgment, a family that is emotionally healthy, people are not emotionally abusive, people who are supporting each other physically and spiritually, and basically a safe space to be and a safe space to share our fears and our joys.
All right. So it's not only just physically being there as a family, but also the support of mental health, spiritual well-being, if I'm getting you right?
Exactly.
All right. So I want us to talk about the importance of having this strong family unit, and especially during this time, the COVID-19 pandemic. What are some of the importance of having this unit?
Wow, if you look at a family unit, of course, there are parents or a parent, depending on the kind of a family, and then their kids. And so every person in the family has needs, has physical, emotional, psychological needs, and spiritual needs that they have. So a stable family ensures that everybody's needs are met, and whatever fears that we have, we can help each other go through them, the anxieties, even the illness, if some of us are sick, to go through this period in a way that gives us more joy and safety and stability. So a stable family is very important, given the position that we have been put by public health rules, which means we have to stay at home with each other. So a stable family is a family that will help us in our emotional, our mental, our spiritual, and even our physical health. Yeah.
All right. And what about someone who does not have this? What are the effects?
The effects are very detrimental. We've seen a lot of mental health issues escalating at this point. People who are now back at home in an unstable family have nowhere to run to because there are no friends to go to. There's no club. There's no church. There's no social gatherings. So people have to stay in an unstable home, and that strains upon their emotional health and their mental well-being. And we know a lot of diseases are increased by stress levels. So they might actually get sick, not just COVID, but other illnesses as a result of being in an unstable setting. So it's very detrimental for people to be in unstable relationships and families right now.
And does it have a long-term effect whereby you did not have that support of a family at some point? So for that reason, it affects you later in life. Does that even happen?
Yes, it does. Because being in a situation where you're not supported is a traumatic event, especially for children. And that level of trauma lasts for a lifetime because especially children who are below the ages of 8, that as the way the world is. And so they go out with this lens that they now have about an unsupportive, unstable world and build the rest of their life on that foundation.
Yeah.
And so it's very critical that children are especially in a stable situation. Yeah.
All right. I get your point, and I want us to talk about one of the major branches, and I will call it a branch. I will call them branches because I want us to talk about the role of women, and especially during this time of the pandemic. What are some of the duties and literally in general, the role of women when it comes to a family unit?
So right now we are seeing a different setup of families right now, because before COVID, we would all go to work or women would stay at home, but right now everybody is at home. So there's a greater burden on the women because especially if you're working and you're supposed to work from home, and then you have children and probably your health went when COVID broke out, and then you've got a husband or you've got children who are homeschooling right now because their teachers are still sending assignments. So there's a greater strain on the women at this point. And given that they make very critical decisions in households, and probably they are the ones again to go out and shop, they are experiencing a greater strain and a greater sense of responsibility at this point.
All right. And on a lighter note, you know, they say that the cleanliness of a woman depends, of a house and a home depends on a woman. And right now, one of the things that the Ministry of Health has really insisted on is on the issue of hygiene. Does that also apply to be some of the roles that women play, especially during this time of the pandemic?
Oh, yes. I haven't come across a home whose husband is in charge of cleanliness, but maybe I'm yet to go to. But in most cases, yes, the woman is in charge of what I call sanitization and hygiene.
Yes.
And so, you know, that is something that's really critical now with the breaking out of COVID. And so now women have to be extra careful. They're the ones who are going to police everyone in the house to sanitize and wash their hands and to get clean water, and you know, even the diet also, like to boost the family's immune system. So a woman is very fundamental to this fight against COVID right now.
And there's so many challenges facing women, and one of those is what is sadly being experienced in our country right now. We have the issue of violence, the issue of abuse, domestic violence actually being in the increase in the last few days. Do you think some of these challenges can affect the effectiveness of especially a woman and their responsibilities?
Yeah, of course. And I see the increase of violence as a result of the pressure that has been put by the measures taken to combat COVID, because people are not going to work. Some people have lost their jobs. Others have closed down their businesses. Others are sick. Others are quarantined or their family is quarantined. Others are going through just even the normal stresses of life now are doubled because of the current situation. And of course, when you're spending 24 hours with somebody, then and you have not learned how to, you know, to manage your emotions and to create an environment where people are safe to express their emotions, then there's bound to be some pressure. So it's like we're in a pressure cooker, and people respond differently to pressure. And most people, unfortunately, retort to violence. And the most people who are violated again are women and children. And it's a very sad scenario, but that's what's happening right now.
All right. So lastly, maybe our word of encouragement to all women who are really trying to put their families together, especially Saizi, we have the COVID-19 virus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a woman myself, and I've had my share of disruption as a result of COVID. And I have friends, I have colleagues, I have clients who are women, and I know that it's a common struggle for all women going through this COVID pandemic all over the world. I would encourage you to remember to take some time off for yourself, because that helps you to ease off the pressure.
Yeah.
Even if you're spending 24 hours in the house with your family, find some times and go to a corner, even if it's the kitchen or a space, and just tell people, give me 5 minutes, let me be with myself, so that you can decompress and debrief yourself. Again, ask for help. Ask for help from friends, from relatives. Even if they're not staying with you, make a call, send a text. Just ask for psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical, whatever support that you need. Ask for help, because I know women, we are so used to sacrificing almost to the last drop of our blood.
Yeah.
So ask for help. Find some time for yourself, and remember, you are powerful and you're strong, and you're gonna make it through this.
Wow. Thank you so much, Carol, for sharing, and also for that very encouraging message for women out there. And I wish we're just going to get through this peacefully, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Well, that has been Carol Gaiduma just telling us on how we can get through this pandemic time. Thank you so much for tuning in to This Is The Day. And your name is Marianne. Unasema, I am tuned in from Meru to Family Radio. This is good news. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we bless the Lord that now tunasikika all the way to Meru. Now we listen to what Remy Kipchirchir is saying here. So he's saying that I heard on the Madagascar cure of the COVID-19. I know that there are about 4 African countries that are in support of this front. I would like to know whether they have been able to test it for sure if it works. And on that note, we talked about it yesterday, and there is some very positive news about that, and according to them it is working. So they're still under the process of testing it, even including the World Health Organization, but we'll wait and see about that. But it is important to note that different organizations are working to find a vaccine for the COVID-19. Also, I love the news story of the young child and how the way she's managed to make a difference in the lives of the community. It is very powerful, and the government needs to support such initiatives in order to help other people. Yes, the story of a young lady from Trans Nzoia, a 9-year-old girl helping the community. That one is really positive. Vincent tuned in from Thika. Thank you so much for choosing Family Radio and Family TV this beautiful evening. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, has said that they are looking into reports of the use of excessive force by police officers during curfew hours. And he says he was responding actually to a report by where an elderly man was beaten to death by police officers in Mathare area, and he called on Kenyans to work closely with the security officers to avoid further occurrences of such cases.
And I want to report today that I'm very happy. No more complaints from members of public on police, what you have been calling brutality. This is because as management of the National Police Service, we have taken it very seriously, and as we have been working with the members of the Fourth Estate, through you and the other channels, we have been able not only to take punitive action on our officers, but also to advise our officers on the guidelines, how we are supposed to enforce these directives.
Well, it is a time to fight the pandemic. And as someone said earlier during the show, it's only fair that we save lives when it comes to use of excessive force. And the Inspector General has said that they are looking into such cases. So let us put our trust there. Now, yesterday we highlighted the story of a woman, a Good Samaritan, who was pleading with officials at one of the hospitals, that is Ruiru Hospital, to attend to 2 car accident victims in her car. Now, after the health officials refused to attend them. This was really sad. Now, despite the 2 being critically injured, they needed attention very urgently, and the hospital was only on COVID-19 standby. Well, it seems like the COVID-19 pandemic is bringing out the worst from some of our hospitals, which now don't really care about other patients. Now, in Mombasa, a man lost his life this afternoon. after allegedly being denied entry into the hospital by the guards for several days, despite the fact that he was obviously ailing. Residents say the man, who was all alone and severally attempted to seek medical attention at Coast General but was stopped by the guards. Now, he lost his battle this afternoon just outside the hospital gates.
Shaban Said Mtengo, sisi kama masini ya hapa wa tuktuk. Huyu mgonjwa alikuja kutoka juzi. Maaskari wanamzuia asiingie ndani kwa hali mahututi. Sisi wananchi wa Kenya tuliwapigia kura jamani. Watu wanalia milangoni. Waangalie ikiwa ni mgonjwa, waangaliwe shida yake ni nini. Asizuiliwe mlangoni mpaka tumeona ujasiri wa kuwa mtu amekufa. Tumeamua kuita hawa angalau watu iwe runinga watu wote wajue.
Kama kuna magonjwa ya kawaida hauingii, ni corona peke yao. Je, watu wa kawaida wataenda kutibiwa wapi? Serikali iangalie hili swali kubwa. Hatujui tutapeleka wagonjwa wetu wengine wapi. Because kama una mgonjwa kwanza kutoka ndani, una mgonjwa utakwenda kumnunulia dawa ukiregea, haurudi ndani tena. Maaskari hawa wanazuia hakuna kuingia ndani. Je, tutasaidika vipi? Sisi watu wa kawaida. Shauri ile mtu ambaye amekufa hivi sasa, tunasikia uchungu. Shauri huyo mtu ameteseka pale, mkoa na mnyeshea, hakuna mtu anamshughulikia. Wakati amekufa, watu wamoja waweze kumchukua haraka haraka akiwa maiti. Je, tusaidika vipi dunia hii? Ni uchungu sana, tusaidiane kabisa. Mtu ameumia tukimuona na macho yetu hivi hivi. Hatuna uwezo. Na kafu ya gate iondoke. Kafu ya gate waondoe.
Very sad news there all the way from Mombasa County. And we're just calling on the health practitioners to also take care of other people that are suffering from other ailments, while, of course, they concentrate on the COVID-19, because we do not want to lose people because of other conditions that could be protected and prevented. Now, for the last couple of months, thousands of Kenyans, are desperate actually to own their own homes and have been duped to have ended up investing in companies promising to build them homes at relatively cheaper prices, only to regret later. Now, in a country that has an annual deficit of 500,000 homes, it is not difficult to understand why many middle-class Kenyans are now easily falling prey of some of these scams. Now, recently, scores of prospective houses owners took on to the CEO of one company, Banda Homes, claiming the company has not kept its promise to deliver their homes, claiming calls to the company were going unanswered for some time. So, what are some of the critical issues that we should put into consideration when involving these companies? We are joined by John Njui, an expert on the field, to shed some light on this. Well, good evening, John. I would just want you to help us understand some of the things, and I'll start with a question. What are some of the things that I need to consider when choosing a scheme to help me with house construction?
Thank you so much, Family TV, for having me here today. As an investor, there are several factors you should consider before you invest your money in any housing scheme. And one of the things is the history of the company that you are investing with. This is very important in any field, because the company is the vehicle that will take you to where you want to go. And if the history of a company is bad, or the company does not have a history in delivery, or they've been dragging themselves in delivery, then that company you should not invest in. And this is because if a company has done several projects and they have not been delivered, why would you go join the fourth and the fifth project, yet they have never delivered the first and the second and the third project? So the history of delivery. Then you need to know the people that are driving the organization, because here, for example, a house of 3.5 million to 5 million, that is not a small amount of money that you can afford to invest in a company that you don't know history of delivery. So as an investor, let us do our background information. We do a research. We know the company delivered. if it has delivered, has it delivered to the promise? Because this is another critical. You buy, you invest in a certain project, but they can also give you a project that is substandard. So if you can be able to invest in learning so much about the company, the history, you can be able to save so much.
All right.
Then the other thing that you should consider before you invest in such a company, it is that, are they able to deliver what you need? Because as an investor, we invest based on emotions. You see that?
Yeah.
You invest in a project that you know that this is what I need.
And what
based
I like.
Not on emotions.
All right. Yeah, I get your point. But there's another issue that, and I feel most people just brush it off, the issue of contracts and reading the contracts. Because we've had cases where people are saying, in the contract that I signed, I never read or I was not told 1, 2, 3. So is there an importance in going through each and every detail, especially when it comes to the housing scheme?
Let me say, somebody said,
John, are we still together?
go through the document.
Hello?
Go through
John, kindly take us back.
Without that document, you may not be able to do so much. In fact, if you don't have experience in terms of going through such document, you should even involve your advocate, a lawyer, who will take that document. Because if you sign that document without doing enough research, and later you say that you never went through the binding document, you may not be able to do so much. So going through that document is a responsibility of every investor, of every buyer, because that is the document that you can use in case that things they never went the way you needed them to. That is the document you're going to use to go to the court and seek for a refund, just in case the company is not able to deliver.
All right. And there's also the issue of money, and we've talked about it earlier. And so as an investor, how much should I put into the company, especially if I want my house to be delivered on time? Is there a specific amount and limit amount of money that I am supposed to invest?
Based on what you can agree with the developer, there is no that limit of money that you can put in a certain project. What we can do here is that there are terms that are clearly stipulated in the contractual agreement that we're going to have with the developer, and we call it piecemeal resource allocation. You say when the house or a project is at 30% complete, this is the amount of money I'm going to put in. When we get to 50% completion, this is the amount of money I'm going to put in, so that by the time you are approaching 100% completion, you will have seen what your money has done. So if at the 50% you are not satisfied, as an investor, you are not going to put any other money, and you are going to avoid losing so much. And especially when it comes to off-run project, never pay cash. Pay everything at the cash. Pay when the project is at 10% complete. Pay 10% of the money. 30% complete. Pay 30% of the money. That way you may not lose so much. But what Kenyans do, they want to pay and give the developer everything. And when the developer is not able to deliver, then they lose their money. Their resources.
All right. I feel that is a very important point, and if I'm getting you right, it's just a matter of negotiation and understanding when a certain amount of money should be paid, but it's not advisable to give the whole amount of money.
Yes, and if it is your first time to invest in an off-run project, you should look for somebody like a legal person, a lawyer, who will take you through that process, because they are going to see loopholes that you cannot be able to see as a first-time investor.
All right. So what happens in a scenario whereby I have invested with a housing scheme and then it turns out to be fake, for lack of a better word? And now, what are the legal processes that I am supposed to take? Because at this scenario, we all need our money back, right?
Yeah. Let me say that Kenyans, what we do, we don't do enough research. We want to invest in areas that they are going to give us returns in 100-fold. But this does not just happen. We have so many people out there who they are looking forward to have your money. So Kenyans, what we do, we don't do enough research. And I'll keep on repeating this. Before you invest in any project that you see being advertised in a TV or a radio or a newspaper, do you involve another person who has experience in that area of investment, and they are going to show you in a so that you may not lose your money. So in such a case that you have invested in a fake project, the contract these people give you is because it was binding. If there was a contract, this is a contract going to give it to your lawyer, and then you can initiate a legal process to the recovery of your money. If the company may not be able to refund you the cash, then a court may issue an instruction that the resources of the company may be sold, so that the people who invested in such a project maybe they can be refunded their money. But sometimes, see, even these companies, they don't have those assets that can be sold to refund people money. And what you are going to the developer, sometimes they run away even out of the country, and you find you may not be able to recover that money. So before we go even to all through this process, if the company had enough resources, and the project they have failed, then the court can force them to sell their asset and pay back the money. But it is a wrong process. It takes years, and you might even not be able to get that money. So that falls with you as an investor doing such, and don't just rush to any other project because you hear it on TV, on a radio, that it is a very promising project. Do you much well?
All right. So the underlying issue here is doing enough research even before investment.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. And thank you for educating us very well on how to go about this business of investment in a house.
Thank you. I'm so much grateful.
Thank you. Have a beautiful evening.
Thanks.
Well, that has been John telling us that there is only one way of escaping this, and that is doing enough and intensive research even before the investment. Now, as the COVID-19 pandemic and different countries are trying to battle this, there is also a different group that has never prayed, never stepped into a church building, that is now being led to its knees, literally, to pray. Now, in the United Kingdom, the lockdown is now turning people back to God. The Church of England now says an unexpected high number of people are turning to online or broadcast Christian services just to worship and praise the Lord. Now, the survey found that a third of young adults aged between 18 and 34 had watched or listened to an online or broadcast religious service, compared to 1 in 5 adults in the age of 55. Now, 1 in 5 of those who have turned into services in the past few weeks say they have never gone to church. The most frequent subject of prayer since the lockdown has been, and we will look this in the terms of percentage. We have family at the percentage of 53, friends at 34, we have thanking God at 24, we have personal needs making up to a total of requests of 28%, and we also have the people praying for the frontline services, totaling to about 27%. And we have someone unwell or maybe with the COVID-19. The requests have been totaling to about 20% of the prayer requests that are sent in to the Church of England in the UK. And other countries with COVID-19 have made up to 15% of the requests that they have been receiving. So it is a bad thing. It is a virus that is affecting different parts of the country, but it's also leading more people to Christ and more souls are being saved. That is a good thing. Well, let us look to some positive news now. Now, in the wake of a government-sponsored clinical trial that showed promising results for the experimental drug to treat COVID-19, that is the coronavirus, Daniel O'Day, that is the chairperson and the CEO of services by the name Gilead Services, that is Gilead Science, and he says this drug is not a cure, but it is a very significant treatment when it comes to treating COVID-19. He says it reduces the time it takes for patients who are suffering from COVID-19 to get better. It's not a cure and a treatment yet, but it is very significant when it comes to reducing the time that it takes for patients to get better and, of course, reducing the strain on the health care system. That is good news, meaning there is hope. People are putting in efforts to find a vaccine and a cure for this virus. We have seen African countries also doing their best. We have seen even the West countries working day and night to find a vaccine for this virus. And that, my friend, is good news. And that means we will definitely make it at the end of this road. Thank you so much for tuning into This Is The Day. My name is Sarah Otieno. Have yourself a very beautiful evening, and I will see you tomorrow.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.